did and do, especially those at uni. They'd become parents in their 20s, and it had brought them closer together. They'd supported each other's careers, understanding one's ambitions were no more important than the other's. They'd hit more highs and lows than she could recall, and had always been there for one another. Now it was all going to change. "Have you packed?" she asked, and immediately regretted it when she saw him flinch. She didn't want to hurt him, really. Why would you want to hurt someone you loved? "Everything's in the car," he replied. "Holly, too?" Why would he take her daughter? Why did Holly want to go? What did it say about her? As a mother, as a person? "She's almost ready," he said. She had to swallow, a choking build-up of emotion, before she could say, "It's hard for me to imagine being happy without you. But obviously it's not hard for you." His eyes darkened, and they entered a rare moment when she didn't know what he was thinking, although they were becoming more frequent now. He was leaving her today, and she wasn't trying to stop him. She could sense his confusion over that, along with the guilt. Of course, guilt. He'd been sleeping with another woman. And yes, he was hurting, because all their years together had meant something to him too. And he'd probably expected her to fight harder to keep him. He could have accused her of driving him to this, but he never had, because that wasn't his style. He didn't blame others for his actions, whatever the provocation. He was a decent man, not a coward who hid behind excuses. In some ways that was a failing, for often he claimed responsibility when there was no need to. Superhero dad, protective husband, respected boss. "You're not angry anymore," he stated, and she heard his surprise and pique. She was angry, all right. So angry she could turn violent simply to think of him with another woman, especially that one. Like she had when she'd first found out. A lot had been smashed that day, and she didn't doubt that more would go the same way during the darkest moments ahead. She was going to hate sleeping in their bed alone. Not hearing his key in the door at the end of the day, pouring only one glass of wine, not having him to talk to or watch TV with. For as long as she could remember, they'd been the closest couple amongst their friends. No one had expected this to happen. Theirs was the marriage that would go on to the end. It would have, if it weren't for the affair. It would have, if he'd been there for her, when her world had spun out of control, when she'd lost the sense of who she was and asked herself what point there was to anything anymore. Maybe he would have been if she'd told him. But she hadn't, because she couldn't, and wouldn't. Some things were just too hard. And so he was leaving.
Chapter 1. 1968. The really cool thing about teasing Sir, Mr. Michaels, the music teacher, is the way it makes him blush. It starts under his collar and creeps out like mischief, slowly, cautiously, as though checking to see who's looking, before suddenly revealing itself with rosy abandon all over his neck and cheeks. It makes him seem younger, closer to our age in a way, but not so close to give him the air of a teenager, or someone lacking in worldly sophistication. He definitely isn't, for he seems to know everything, and isn't easily shocked, only easily thrown or discomforted by a room full of 15-year-old girls intent on claiming his attention. He's not tall, exactly, but few of us girls can look...